Okay, so I didn't get an audience because I procrastinated on this speech, but I'm still going to do it and talk about what I was going to talk about. So today I'm going to talk about how hunting is good and what all about hunting is good. So when I think of hunting, I think of being in the outdoors, spending time with your friends, just taking in what all nature has to offer. Other people, they think of it as someone just going out there and shooting an innocent animal just for the fun of it, which hunting is a lot more than just shooting an animal. Uh, Hunting is conservation, population control of the animals, and it also helps with habitats. With conservation, a lot of stuff that happens is because of conservation. Without conservation, there probably wouldn't be any animal that is hunted today that would not be on the endangered list. What conservation does is it takes all the money that's spent on hunting license, tags for if you're hunting deer, if you're hunting moose, elk, whatever you're hunting. It takes all the money that's raised from that and it puts it back into helping keep the population at a good rate, and it helps to protect the wildlife. Like it helps pay the game wardens that are out there every hunting season protecting the game from people that are taking advantage of them and poaching them and killing them illegally without tags and permits. You also get money from people buying hunting clothes, or like Bass Pro or Cabela's, they donate money to conservation groups to help keep wildlife around so we can still hunt. And then conservation groups such as like Dallas Safari Club, and then there's a bunch of other, but that I'm not gonna name them off because that'd take too long. But Dallas Safari Club, they help with a bunch of the animals over in Africa, because Africa, the animals over there are a lot that are pretty close to being endangered, and it takes a lot of money. So Dallas Safari Club, they go like all over the United States, and they host like get-togethers or conservation groups where they get together and they basically have a bunch of auctions. They show new products that's coming out. So all the products that are sold there at that conservation, like guns, scopes, anything camo, it all goes back into helping keep the wildlife around and the population good. But also hunting, it helps when you shoot an animal. We have a certain amount of animals we can shoot so we don't hurt the population. We take out just enough to where it's a good amount of animals to where they're not tearing up anything, but to where they can still repopulate and have a good amount of animals left. So like if you didn't hunt, say we didn't hunt deer and we just let them go, no one could hunt them, the deer would start being everywhere. They'd destroy crops. They would just wipe out crops because deer can eat a lot. And then also you got to put in the factor of deer, they cross the road. Deer injure people a lot by getting into car accidents and stuff like that. But if we keep them at a substantial population, then it will decrease the amount of car accidents and crops being destroyed. So it keeps them at a sustainable population to where they're not destroying anything, but they're still around. And then the last thing is, if there was no hunters, there probably wouldn't be any popular habitat left for wildlife. With hunters, we've helped to raise money to protect that land that those animals have to where no one can touch it. Like, as much as the population has grown in the last few years, you got to think people have to build houses and tear down forest and all that to build a house, and that's just more habitat that's gone for the wildlife, so they'll have nowhere to go and they're just getting pushed into a smaller area, and then you get overpopulation there and the deer start killing off each other because it's overpopulated and there's no food for them to go around. So with hunting, they raise money and they help keep the habitat around just enough to where it's a good amount for the animals to live. And it helps, like, public land. If there was no public land, it'd just be all turned into farm ground and stuff like that, and the deer would have nowhere to go. They'd have nothing. They'd just eventually die off because they don't have enough to live or survive. So that's where hunting comes in. It saves and it raises money to help keep habitat around for the deer. And say, like, an average hunter like me, if I didn't keep my ground or pasture or make habitat, like, for deer to live in, they'd have nowhere to go. Average hunters like us, or farmers, usually they set off like a little patch and leave it untouched just for wildlife, and that's what's helping keep wildlife and everything around. So before you going off thinking hunting's bad, it's just killing an innocent animal, no, it's not. It's hunting is providing animals habitat. It's keeping the population at a good check so they're not overpopulating and killing each other off. It's keeping it to where they have a good amount of food because they're not overgrazing or tearing up land and stuff like that. It's, with the conservation groups, it's helping them have habitat, keep a healthy population. So in conclusion, hunting helps wildlife more than a lot of people think.